All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're all coming in. I've been fired as the technical director of the Directors Network. So hopefully passwords and IDs and links will be a little easier to find. Nancy's going to take over some of that. So we'll make sure we post them. I just threw it up on Facebook if you know someone that's trying to get in. So hopefully that will be a little bit easier. Well, it's been cold lately, so I'm coming to you from Cabo. Or I'd like to be coming to you from Cabo, but not so much. Maybe we should give the door prize to the best background virtual screen today, huh? Maybe that's what we should do. So we'll start with that. If you want to compete, well, we'll just say for the most creative participant. How's that sound? So you can do a virtual background or bring your creative soul, whatever that looks like. All right.
I would require you to be technologically competent.
Well, you don't have to because you don't have to use the digital. Yep, just be creative. All right. Let's see. So Stephanie Bivens has got some things to talk about. She's meeting with PCF. I suppose Jessica might be in the other meeting. But Stephanie will try to step out for a few minutes. And her and I had a great conversation yesterday about all of the resources, the programs, the grants, the opportunities for training that Mason County's been asking for decades, possibly, for as long as I've been here. And we're really trying to formulate a way to make that more accessible. And so we bounce some ideas off each other and have some great ones. I'll wait to see if she can jump in later before we get into that. If she can't, then I'll jump in, and Amy or whoever else is there that's familiar with some of those, we can chat some more. So we'll just table Stephanie's ideas for a little bit. Let me jump on a few of my topics here, and then Amy, I'll throw it over to you. Amy, do you need to get back into that other meeting?
No, I'm all good.
Okay.
I'll be here for the
Sounds
duration.
Good. So one of the things I threw on the agenda, does everybody have access to the agenda? Just raise your hand if you have access to the agenda. Can you see it? So, okay. So we'll want to make sure it's shared. I wonder, can I just drop the link in the chat box, which I've just done? I don't know. Maybe click on that link in the chat box and so you can see the agenda. I want to make sure that I share it with you. So, maybe share your email also in the chat box. And Nancy, do you have access to the agenda? Yeah. So if anybody drops their email in the chat box, if you'll share that with them, just as a comment, that'd be great. So let me talk about that first. This agenda is going to be our agenda for the entire year of 2021. So every Directors Network meeting will have this month's agenda at the very top. And then so in February, we're going to take January, we're going to slide it down. So if someone joins us in March, they can look down further in this agenda, in this document, and see other conversations we've had, other links that we've had. So you can scroll down on the agenda now and you'll be able to see all of the topics we talked about in December and any links that any of the speakers gave. Because I think one of the challenges we have is we hear about all this great information, but where do I get an application? Where does my staff go to apply for this grant? What CDAs are current right now? What's coming up? And so that's what Stephanie and I chatted about yesterday. So this is one way by having one live working agenda that you can always have access to previous information. So great. We'll get that shared with you there that are throwing your emails in the chat. That sounds great. All right. So if you are watching this meeting on Facebook, then reach out and let us know if you do not have that agenda shared with you. It'll be shared as a Google link if you don't have a Gmail account as your primary email address. But it'll be shared to your primary email. You can find it in your drive, and you can continue going back. We'll simply rename the agenda for the upcoming months. So this agenda will be renamed as February's agenda. All right, but it'll be the same document. Yes, we will add Joy to that, to those links as well. So sounds great. All right, so I want to start off with this. So public health emergency leave, just maybe by a show of hands, who is aware of that? What's going on with the state of Colorado with the public health emergency leave? Anyone? Okay, so we know a little bit about that. I'm not the expert, and I wish I would have been able to grab my auto paychecks folks and had them here today to talk about that. I was hoping that Stephanie would be in here from We Care a Lot as a paralegal. She'd probably be all over this. Maybe she'll join us here in a bit. But so what I understand of it is that the state of Colorado passed legislature that, let me just throw this. Can you see the agenda now? So here, the public, and I can't see your hands. Can everybody see that? Raise your hand. And I'll move this so I can, all right, cool. Oh, wait, no, you can't see that, can you? Okay. The Colorado legislature passed this legislature, if you will, so right now we're aware of COVID pay where an employee would receive up to 80 hours of compensation. And right now I think you have to have, 15 or 16 employees to have to pay them for 80 hours. And then that money comes back off of your taxes that you would submit later on, the next week. But this leave is 80 hours for full-time staff after COVID-19 sick time is paid. It's actually for all staff, for full-time and part-time. These were questions I had, actually. And what I understand is it's required of everyone. So I really wish I had answers. I really only have more questions, and to bring it to your knowledge, maybe what I'll do is try to reach out to, I'll try to reach out to my resources, get a little bit more clarity, and maybe I'll be able to drop a video in our Facebook, or I'll find a video and drop it in our Facebook feed. But this, as I understand it, I'm going to be required now to pay every single staff member up to 80 hours if they're not feeling well. That's 2 additional weeks. There's no reimbursement. It's a COVID act. It was passed because of COVID, but there's no reimbursement for it. And that's, so let me clarify. I do understand that if it's a full-time staff that works 40 hours a week, you would end up paying them 80 hours, 2 full weeks for being gone. If it's someone that works 15 hours a week and they're sick or they fall under the requirements, you would pay them 2 weeks or 30 hours of total sick leave. Does that make sense? So this just passed. As I understand it, it is current right now. Does anybody have any little bits or pieces that they've learned about that they could throw in to shed any more light or ask any more questions on this? So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a big deal, right? Whether they're sick or, that's 2 extra weeks for every staff member right now that we've got a planned budget for. So I will do some extra research and try to find some resources, and I'll throw them on our Facebook page, whether if I find a video explaining it from the state or just some documentation. So look for that over there.
Hey, Kurt.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you.
Please do.
So I know a lot of my parents. I've had quite a few test positive now. And so some employers are not paying out, not the 2/3, not sick leave. And I don't know if it's because they keep them at part-time so they don't have to. I mean, she works full-time hours. And so she's looking for that information as well. So maybe we'd be able to help our parents too. Um,
So that's a great idea. Nancy, would you mind making a couple notes for me? Thank you so much. Um, yeah, so why don't we'll look for something about that. Now I know there's I too have that same question because I've listened to our parents and I'm going, well, but you're getting your COVID payout, right? And some are like, nope, for some reason we're exempt or for some reason we can't. And I do believe if I reflect back that if you're a small employer and it's a hardship, there's some outs, which makes kind of sense. But I'm not sure that that's necessarily our families that are telling us that they're not getting paid, right? So,
this is a large car dealership, and
right,
so they have quite a few employees.
yeah,
And our problem comes in when if they're not getting paid, we're not getting paid.
that's right.
And so do we take the hardship and not charge them for that tuition when they're not here, or half tuition even, because they're not getting paid, so they can't pay us.
Yeah,
And we can't expect them to, and they can't get unemployment for 2 weeks,
yeah.
It's just,
I mean, I would
yeah.
certainly turn those parents and ask them to. I would encourage them to reach back to HR to try to find some definitive answers for sure. I feel like if we had some good information on that would help our parents, our families, that we could share that on our own Facebook pages, you know, or you could send that out in an email. So I'll look for that some more, and maybe we can find some stuff that will educate and help our families so they can try to navigate that. Maybe if they have something, they come into work and they go, well, but look at this, and their employer goes, well, okay, you got me, or whatever. But so yeah, I think that's a great point.
So, can I just like ask a couple like clarifying questions because I'm a little bit confused. Um, so I know that they had passed for the 48 hours of like PTO versus like or like sick time, or I mean, but really, and that's in addition to the 48 hours that they're requiring for other stress or well, what I had the only one that I was like a little bit more familiar with or whatever that it was going to have to start accumulating, it was 48 hours worth of like of essentially paid time off or sick leave, so you could have additional vacation time or you could have the sick time. But they had, yeah, because they had said that, or like from what I gathered, it was like if they were having a bad mental health day or if they had finals coming up, they could just take that leave for up to 48 hours, but it accumulates each month and then like a bucket. Those are the things I gathered from that. Yes and no. So we covered the 48 hours that acquires 1 to 30, the 80 hours of COVID, and then now that additional 80 hours, is that like specifically COVID related, or is that any ailment? Okay.
So are we going to end up giving people over 200 hours potentially a year? How does anybody keep their doors open?
So sorry. So with the paid time off and keeping those separate, are a lot of folks doing like paid time off and that like separately, or have people had to adapt to that? Or because I thought that you could take the 48 and just make all of it PTO, but it sounds like that is a bad idea.
I ran into a challenge. So childcare licensing is different from what District 51 is doing as regards to quarantine. So it's kind of screwy how it works. But say a family, all of a sudden mom wakes up and she can't smell. And so she goes in and gets tested, but the children do not. She tests positive. So the children either have tested negative or haven't tested at all. They have to start their additional quarantine after the parent's last day. So it won't just be the 10 days, it's 17 days. And so, well, it could be up to 15 if they test on that day and they're negative still. They can go back. Yeah, on day 6. So I had a really hard time conveying that, and it was really hard to get through to anyone. Like, this is new now. I'm starting to have families test positive. What am I supposed to tell them? And, they're so behind on overwhelmed on stuff, licensing and the health department, so they recommended that if you do have a parent that tests positive or a staff member, that you contact them so they can initiate the contact tracing faster. So these parents won't have to isolate longer. And then they're not getting paid on top of it. So they're like, what? My kid can go back to school, but they can't come back to daycare. Why is that? And I said, well, it's just an additional step that they're taking for childcare licensing. And so the school is only making them quarantine the 10 days, not the additional. So my one family, the example that I used, mom tested positive, dad and 2 boys were negative, went back to school when mom's quarantine ended. And so it's different. And yeah. And this was a Taylor Elementary here in Palisade.
I was just going to say that all the situations I've heard of, the schools are requiring that additional quarantine after parents end, other than if the kids test positive or if they show symptoms, then they only have to do the 10-day quarantine. So for kids with a parent that tests positive, it's actually better for the family if the kid gets sick, which is horrible. Mm-hmm. But it's better for the family because they don't have to do that additional quarantine once the parent's quarantine ends. But I haven't heard of a school that's not doing that. Every school that I know we've had are doing that additional 10-day quarantine past the parent's quarantine. And they also are not letting kids test until 6 days after the parent quarantine ends. Mm-hmm. So they can still do the whole come back on the 8th day, but they can't test their kids for that until after their quarantine ends. And then the kids have an additional 6 days. Then they can go get their COVID test. And if it comes back negative, then they can go back to school on the 8th day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And so, I reached out to licensing and they're like, well, we're not part of them. We're doing our own thing. This is what we've been recommended to say, this is our procedure. So we're not connected to District 51. And so maybe mom was able to isolate and just didn't share that information with me, or maybe there was a different circumstance, like you said. But it caused a lot of chaos. I didn't know about the additional days. Nobody notified me, and I hadn't had a positive case in quite a while. And so I didn't know. And so it came down to, sorry, I have to do what licensing does. I don't know what the school is doing, but this is what licensing's advised me, and this is what I have to do. I'm sorry that you're upset, or, you can't bring them to care, but this is what I have to do. They tested negative in the beginning. So whether you test them tomorrow or, it has to be that 6 days after the quarantine ends. And so, and then one parent's like, well, if my kid tests negative, I'm dropping them off on Friday. And I'm like, no, no, you're not. And so it's caused a lot of stress on everybody, it just has. And then not getting the information. I wish that when they change things or things progress or degress, they would, licensing or the health department or anyone would notify across the board these changes. They posted a flyer that said the 10 days, or symptoms or both, but they didn't do it for kids. Like I haven't.
I had I didn't have anything to do with the elementary school kiddos, like in your situation, but when we first found out that it was so much longer, we actually had our nurse consultant. It was, we received the phone call and our nurse consultant happened to be doing her monthly visit. And so she actually took over the phone call for us and explained everything and laid it out, and then just kind of let us know hey, if you're having an issue with, a family or something, I'm more than happy to reach out to them for you. So, that might be something that you consider, is maybe getting some support from your nurse consultant as well. They might be willing to kind of help you with those disgruntled families.
Well, Ashley did end up writing me an email. I was like, well, I haven't seen anything anywhere. This is kind of new to me. Maybe I wasn't following close enough. Can you give me something in writing that I can show my parents? And so she finally did. And then she added the flyer to that. And she said, in addition to this, we're doing this. And so it helped. It helped just to have that. So it's off of me and we're following regulation and this is what we have to do, and so I'm not getting paid either. So it's not like, because I, for one, am not asking for tuition if they have to quarantine because I want them to be honest with me. I want them to actually stay home if they're sick. I don't want them to have that pressure. I mean, it does place a burden, but it actually has helped these parents come forward, because the contact tracing is taking so long at the health department level before it gets to licensing. Ashley's like, advise me if I have a positive case, they come forward to call her and she'll get on it right away, and so, and that makes it easier too. So we're not waiting in limbo a week where we're spreading it to everybody or, like before, oh no, that one's got to go home and you got to close down and it's too late by then. And so it's helped.
I'm sorry. That's me, Lori, at Futures. I had to come into a classroom and
You wanted unique backgrounds. That does it.
Hey, Kirk, I know you work a lot with Stephanie and Ashley. Is it becoming pretty commonplace that they're seeing the positive cases now in the centers? I mean, has pretty much every center at this point experienced it? Do you know? I mean, you might not have any idea, but I'm just curious.
And if I could just drop a link in the chat, I just came across this webinar that may or may not be useful, but it's an hour on January 21st, and it's about COVID vaccine implications for employers. And so it will be answering questions like, can you ask your employees if they've gotten vaccinated? Can you require it? And so if that is of interest to you, I will put the link for registration, and it is free. Sure do. Okay, let me get oriented. So, just very briefly, Jessica and I met with a pediatric sleep consultant, and she was wonderful. She had lots of credentials, so much passion. And so she was just sharing a little bit about kind of experiences she's had working with parents and kind of increasing their, I guess, joy around parenting, really, by increasing their child's sleep. And so she mentioned that this could be something that could be a good fit for directors in kind of optimizing schedules to optimize sleep for the kids that you serve. And so Jessica and I were wondering if maybe that would be something you'd be interested in, kind of a consultation where you get some questions answered. And we're not looking to do this like tomorrow. Things are really crazy with COVID right now. And so we want to make sure that we do it at a time that's convenient and conducive. But that was just something that we heard that we were excited about and wanted to share that potential with you all. So if you have any interest in that, you can maybe mention it in the chat or topics that you'd like to be covered. We would love to hear it. But that's mostly just mentioning something that would be coming down the pipeline later. And then the next big thing is the Child Care Relief Grant. So I'm just popping in to see if everyone has updated their portal because you have until Friday to do that. And I will drop the link into the chat where you update your status. And so this is for all licensed providers. There's really 3 steps to this. You update your portal by Friday. And then after that, about a week after you update that, you should get a survey. And that needs to be completed by the end of February. And after you complete that survey, then there's an affirmation form where you give your banking information. So yeah, the first step is updating that portal by Friday. I'm also going to link a frequently asked questions document that has a lot of good information about what those funds can be spent on, who's eligible, and the process. So here is the link.
Amy, I've done the 3 steps, and I just wasn't clear on when they were going to be releasing funds. Are they starting that on Friday?
Let me look. It looks like payments to providers who have completed all the steps can begin on January 20th, and then they'll be completed on a rolling basis until the end of February.
Okay, I must have missed that.
Love to hear it. If you have any other questions about that, the frequently asked question document that I'm about to add is probably the best place to go, but we're happy to answer questions as well.
You can't throw anything at me from here. Got it. Okay. So I am working on a document that has all the links and all the information that we need. I was going to share it today, and then as I started into it, there's a lot of stuff that I need to fix before I do that. So I will work on that to try to get that onto here so that you guys have the information of all the different scholarships, the different types that are out there, because that can get confusing. What are the differences between each one? Which ones apply to different counties? There's some in Spanish. So there's a lot of different things floating out there that I know Jessica and Amy are very well aware of, but it can get confusing. So I tried to make a document that has all of that, and then the links to all of those different pieces that we need that now you have to find in the email and don't remember where I put it and all that kind of stuff. So trying to give it a house. So in process of, and if there are things that you guys feel like you would want on a document like that, let me know, especially like waivers or anything like that. If there's things that you feel like would be helpful, I'm working with PCF and licensing and everybody that's been involved in Child Care 8000 with those pieces for feedback on what's helpful. We have some toolkit things that we are linking there that pilot sites have found helpful. I'm even adding resources of things that when I'm working with pilot sites, things that we are using quite often, just different tools that we've created. I actually just created 3 new tools for a site today. So those could be other pieces that we share of like how to deal with the whole issue at nap time, like what choices, what are the expectations, well, creating a little picture chart, little things like that that can be helpful. That way you don't have to do it. So working on developing that. Other things are all of the different scholarships that are available. So we have the Mesa County CDA, that's upcoming in March. I have the link up there on the agenda for that application. It is an income eligibility based. There is a $500 stipend with that one, and it's an 8-week class. You do meet with an instructor. You get the coaching through, and the books are paid for. The test fee is paid for. So all of the pieces are there for that. But that one's an 8-week class with an instructor. And then the other link that's right after that one is the Colorado Shines Brighter CDA, which I should have put that in the title. That one is the Western Slope expansion, where it's available to 13 counties, not just Mesa County. And the link for that one is there, but it doesn't open until February 1st. We'll reopen the application for that one and onboard a couple different times through the year with that one. And that one is a self-paced, it's typically online curriculum. And then it also has a $300 stipend. That one also has a renewal. So if you need the renewal done, that's the other piece. And then there's also coaching and advising that goes on with that one too. So they're both a little bit different, but those are the 2 CDA opportunities that are there. And if you have questions, please let me know and email me or something and I will answer those questions. Anything about CDA scholarship opportunities right now that you can think of? That's the regional, that's the second one. So that's a program of choice. That's an online curriculum that it's self-paced. And then we just assist and track and then process payments and all that kind of stuff.
PCF also streamlined so sorry. I was just gonna say that there's a scholarship that we have too to support some of those other workforce. I can throw it in the chat. And in the meantime, that's another CDA. The scholarship opportunity, not nearly as robust as some of the other ones, but I'll put that in the chat. So sorry to interrupt.
No worries. I usually have a lag with mine, so I'm usually very rude now, apparently. Sorry. Thank you, Jessica. And then on another note, we have EQIT coming up, Expanding Quality in Infant and Toddler Care. So this is for anyone caring for infants and toddlers. It can be grandparents, parents, not just providers, but also for providers, it can be a renewal for the CDA and that kind of thing. So that one is the 16-week course. Our orientation starts on the 18th, and it meets on Monday afternoons. I want to say like 3 or 3:30. Attendance is required, but there are no requirements like the CDA with writing papers or taking tests or anything like that. It's just attendance, reading the material, watching the videos, coming to class, is that training. And the link to apply for spring is there. A thing that is new that is coming up is going to be extended college credit scholarships. So offering college credit for prior learning, the local community colleges, well, all the community colleges in the state of Colorado have agreed that the CDA is equivalent to ECE 101. So anyone that has taken the CDA can now get college credit for that. Different colleges have different setups of the way that they function with that, whether there's an assessment with it or just your certificate works and then you pay the fee. Either way, we have scholarships for that fee for credit for prior learning. There's also credit for prior learning for EQIT that they can obtain college credit for that one as well. Then beyond that, we have college credit scholarships for individuals that want to take 2 college classes to gain status of lead teacher or beyond that might help program quality, as well as college credit for directors needing to renew their director license, needing 1 college class. We have credit for that as well. So those are new for 2021. I do not have the application link on there because I'm making it. It's not ready yet. So that is coming. If you have people that are interested, it will be, it's coming, promise. And then there are some mini grants that are available through the county still up to $5,000. And even if you applied for one beforehand that where it was only the $2,000, you can still apply and get the remaining $3,000 if you applied already. So you can still reapply if you accessed one of those grants previously. And it is a reimbursement based, but it's a very, very simple application. And then they'll work with you on what that looks like. It's in basic criteria, but it's pretty flexible and really, really easy process. So now I need to find that link. I'll get the link on here too for that one. Questions on any of those? Kirk, do you want me to screen share what that document looks like and you guys can give me feedback? All right, I got the link for the mini grants on there, and then I'll pull up what like preliminary this document is going to look like. Do I have the ability to share? I do. No, I don't. Okay, great. So this is where I've kind of housed it, and Jessica and Amy have seen this. But if you have feedback, I was trying to break this down because even as I was trying to explain this to coworkers, it gets really confusing because there's been so many things that have happened, you know, basically within the last 6 months of this kind of stuff. So over to the left is the CDA of what an easy way to just say, I mean, this is tagged from their website of what it is, to explain it to staff members. If you have new staff members, this is what this credential is, what it means. It is towards the lead teacher certification. And then these are the two different scholarships and the differences. So the difference with the Colorado Shines Brighter Scholarship, which is also called the regional, it's been called all sorts of things, but basically the Shines Brighter Scholarship, Mesa County Public Health is managing the Western Slope effort. So we have expanded this opportunity to 13 different counties, and then those different counties are listed here that you can share if you have friends or coworkers that may work somewhere else, family that works somewhere else in childcare. They know that these scholarships are available. And the difference between this one is it has the CDA renewal with it here, where the other one down below, we could potentially do that, but not yet. And then English and Spanish courses available. It's online, self-paced, books are included. Both of these you get the advisor support, and then the difference for the stipends are here, and then the link. And then for the Mesa County, the difference of where this expanding, and actually we expanded this to a couple other counties as well. And then there's Spanish translation. It's an 8-week course, and this one does have an instructor that they meet with weekly. So if somebody really wants that face-to-face, I know it's still virtual right now, but it is a person that is delivering the content weekly. And then the stipend, because this is income eligibility based, the stipend is higher. And just so that you guys know, I pushed really, really hard for the stipend to go forward with the state expansion, and that did not happen on the Eastern Slope. We have that stipend for our folks on the Western Slope specifically. So just so that you know, that is a difference in the scholarships for the other part of the state. So that's the CDA of a rundown, and if you guys want me to, I can basically copy this and send it in an email so that you still have it until I get this all ready and approved. And then EQIT in the middle here in the yellow is just kind of a rundown of what that means. It's a 48-hour course, what it's for, and then the certification, the availability, it's through multiple counties. They are virtual 3-hour meetings. Because we're meeting virtual, it's not quite 3 hours. There you can watch the videos on your own, so it doesn't take as long. So who wants to watch the video with everybody else on a meeting? So we've changed that a little bit. And then it is 18 weeks. The books are included. There is coaching available afterwards. There's no cost for that. And then the links for spring and fall are here. These are the different college credit opportunities that we have, and it's the purple and whatever color this is, peach. But I don't have it because this application isn't finalized yet, but I'm close, I promise. The other piece was where we were trying to organize what we wanted a website to look like, which is why it's kind of wonky like this, but it has the different links that we've been developing, like how to explain what Child Care 8000 is. We have our business plan and the report here, different trainings that we've developed, and then the kind of toolkits that are down below of enrollment pieces. I have to figure out how to get this into here because it's an Excel document and I don't know how. And then some other different tools that we've utilized a lot with the pilots. And then I'm working with licensing to see if there are any pieces. I know they've developed a lot, so if they want to add to this, or all the work that's been done with CACFP. So those are pieces that we're still working on developing, and if that would be helpful. The link to the subpool, this group's page, and then helpful links that I use quite often when talking with centers. If there's something that you'd like to see on here that I didn't address, let me know. I just want it out there. I don't know where it should live, whether it's PCF, whether it's, I don't know, whatever. We can figure that out, but at least even if this document is something that you guys can access while we're figuring all of that out, at least you get the resources ASAP, and we can figure out, and maybe it lives in multiple places. That way, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's going well. We still work on it every week, and that's a resource website, obviously, and then we're working on a different one as well. So 2 websites that will be working in tandem. But for the PCF website, we did just add a really short Colorado Shines webinar. It's like 8 minutes long and hopefully kind of explains the updates that have just been made to it and the timelines and things like that. So that lives on the website now. And Jessica, what else have we done?
Got me. I don't know what updates we provided last time, but we've focused out a website page for homes and centers with specific resources, and we're planning to add a lot more to that. We also have the COVID-19 resource page, which is a lot to update because there's a lot coming down all the time, but we just made quite a few updates to that last week, so feel free to check that out. And if there's anything that you need, there's a request form too. If there's something that's like very obviously missing, just send a message and we'll get that added on there, or connect you with the resource directly. Beyond that, I don't think we have any other huge changes. A lot of our time has been spent revamping the Got Kids Roadmap resource page, which should be complete in a few months, hopefully less than a few months. So really excited to be working on that.
Please do. That's the only way it works. And however, wherever it lives, I mean, you guys are the ones that need access to it. So this is the place for the feedback of what you need. Okay. Well, and what I realized, which would be really annoying because these are all Google Docs that I have, every time a new person would want to do it, they have to request access, which is what I want to change. So I want to make these all PDF documents, something where it's easier for people to access, which is why I'm not sharing it yet, because I think it'd just be a mess. So I'm going to fix it and then talk with Amy and Jessica and try to see how we can merge this stuff so that it is helpful for everyone, but also when you need it, you can actually get it and not wait for access, because that would be annoying.
Well, Lori from Futures again. I just want to put it out there. I am in desperate need of 3 classroom aides. I've been advertising, and I've had sheet metal workers and road crew people applying, and with the upcoming closure here, so many ideas. I greatly appreciate it.
Hey, Steph, I had a quick question. Do you know on the current CDA program that you and Dusty are doing, what the cost is for that college credit? To add it? Because one of my staff members that's in the class, she really would like to get the college credit, but she doesn't know how much it costs. So while I have you on the call, I just thought it.
Great question. So it depends on which college she wants to apply for with college credit. So our scholarships are, each one is for up to $500. So there may be some colleges that you apply for that it would cover the full cost for that college class, and then others that wouldn't. So I would just reach out to what colleges she's looking for if she's needing a full scholarship for that college credit, and compare the costs. We're working on getting a document that would be one that you could look at all the different colleges. And I did ask the question, since this is new. Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm building this plane as I'm we're doing it, but we did ask the question of, did it have to be for the funding, did it have to be within the state of Colorado? And it can be, since now there's so many online options, it does not necessarily have to be a Colorado school, but it can be. And we've done the research on, there are several community colleges that are under that $500 cap. But we're working on a document that is like a cheat sheet for people to be able to say, okay, I want that one. So it's any college, but she just might want to look at the cost.
Okay, because I think it's relative if, they just want the college credit. So, I guess whatever the cheapest one is and the easiest to access. So will you guys be giving them that information before they finish with you in the program so that they can go back and do that retroactively?
We can. So this is still relatively new. This is kind of the first place I've talked about it so far, and I still don't have the application yet. So whenever I have the application finalized, I will send that out to everybody, and then however it funnels to participants, they can apply for that college credit and receive it.